toddler friends. I have a new book for you. I have Curious George Plants a Seed. I know so many of us love Curious George books, so I thought this would be a really special one to read together while we're doing Farmers this week. Curious George was a good little monkey and always very curious, just like you guys. Today was a good day to be curious. The man with the yellow hat was taking George to the Science Museum. I love to go to the Science Museum. Do you like to go to the museum too? I like the Science Museum and the Children's Museum. Those are some of my favorite places. The museum was one of George's favorite places too. And there was always something new and interesting to see. See them walking up to the building. Often there was a special exhibit. George wanted to know what it was today, but first he had to make his favorite museum stops: the rocket room, the mirror maze, and the butterfly space. Oh, look at, I would really like those spaces too. Butterflies, and the mirrors, and a spaceship. So cool. Finally, George and his friend made it to the special exhibits room. The sign read, "How you can take care of our planet." George learned many things: how all people, animals, plants, air, and water on the planet make up our environment, how trees help clean the air, and how people can help protect the environment from pollution and too much trash. That is very true. We always need to use things that can be recycled or reused over and over again. George had a great time and didn't get into any of his usual mischief. As he and his friend were leaving, they bumped into the museum director. Looks like George is trying on the big yellow hat. It seems like he can't see very well. He bumped right into her. Dr. Lee looked happy to see him. "How is my best monkey visitor?" Dr. Lee asked George. "I am so glad I ran into you. I wanted to tell you that we're having a Green Day rally tomorrow at the park." George was curious. Whatever a rally was, he was sure that the park was a good place to do it. "We're going to plant a truckload of trees and collect used paper for recycling," Dr. Lee explained. "We didn't have much time to advertise, but we do need lots of volunteers. How would you like to help out?" There was nothing that George liked better than to help. What a great idea. We'll be there. I know a lot of my toddler friends are great helpers too. Your mommies and daddies tell me all the time how you help them. That night, George was ready to do his part for the recycling drive. He gathered every newspaper in the house. He stacked old mail on top of papers. He piled empty cardboard boxes and food cartons on top of that. What a heap! What more could he add? George scratched his head. Then he took several books off of his bedroom shelf. Oh my goodness, look what George did. That's a big pile. Just as George was about to add to his recycling pile, someone lifted the books out of his hand. "Not so fast, George," the man said. "These books are made of paper, all right, but you can read and enjoy them many times. And when you're done, you can donate them to other kids or to your library. Reusing is just as important as recycling." We know that, right? When we do our crafts and our projects, we always try to use things that were something else, like maybe a water bottle that we can make into a sensory bottle. That's reusing, and that is important. The next morning, George and his friends set out for the park with their wagon of neatly stacked paper. Suddenly, the man stopped and said, "Oh, I forgot my gardening gloves. Go on without me, George. I'll be there soon." As George walked down the street, he spotted several newspapers lying about on his neighbor's front lawn. George had an idea. He had lots of room in his wagon and he could recycle all of those newspapers. Uh-oh. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? I'm not sure if those newspapers were trash. And the newspapers were not the only thing he could recycle. He noticed a stack of paper cups sitting on a table under a tree. Into the wagon he went. So did a pile of magazines and a heap of paper someone left on the sidewalk. Oh, George, you're so silly. I think those were things people were using, but George is trying to be a good helper. George was happy with his great load. At the park, he found Dr. Lee standing under a big banner. "Good morning, George," Dr. Lee said. "I'm so glad you came and brought all of your friends. We need lots of help to get the job done." George turned around. He was surprised to see so many faces, but they did not look very helpful. They looked angry. Uh-oh. What do you think they're upset about? Yeah, maybe they are a little bit upset with George. The man with the yellow hat arrived just in time. He explained to their neighbors that George was gathering paper for a good cause. They were no longer mad, and they all even helped to plant trees. Wow, look at those beautiful trees. Everyone's working together. They're digging holes, putting the trees in the hole, covering the roots with dirt, and watering them. That's very cool. "George, you saved our green day," Dr. Lee said. "With gratitude, these trees will provide fresh air, and each summer we'll have more and more shade, which means we'll use less water to keep the grass green." "Thank you, George." Being a monkey, George had known all along how important trees were. Look at George way up in that tree. He's so happy. He's very excited. Maybe you could draw a picture of a tree. Maybe there's one in your yard and you could look at the tree and observe the strong trunk and the long branches that stick out. Maybe you could draw that. Or maybe you could plant a tree or some seeds like we planted in our greenhouse bag. That would be a really great way to help the earth and to help your family. Bye, toddler friends. I'll talk to you soon.